Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nightforge. The war on Olympus was just the beginning. Beneath the surface of every myth lies a chilling truth. Kronos' fight isn't over. His shadow still looms, a perpetual threat that could shatter the divine order. We're diving deep into the unfinished war, exploring the ripple effects and devastating consequences if the king of the Titans were to return. You won't look at Greek mythology the same way again. We all know the story, or at least we think we do. Kronos, the powerful Titan king, devours his children to prevent a prophecy from coming true. The prophecy said one of his offspring would overthrow him, just as he had overthrown his own father, Uranus. It's a tale of paranoia, power, and ultimate defeat. Zeus, hidden away by his mother Rhea, grows up to challenge his father, frees his siblings from Kronos' stomach, and after a decade-long war known as the Titanomachy, the Olympians emerge victorious. Kronos and his Titan allies are cast into the deepest, darkest pit of the underworld. Tartarus, end of story, right? Not even close. The myths we've been told are clean, tidy narratives with a clear beginning, middle, and end. But what if the end was just a pause? What if the containment of Kronos wasn't a permanent solution, but a temporary one? The ancient Greeks were masters of storytelling, but their stories were also warnings. The idea of a powerful, primordial force like Kronos simply being locked away forever seems almost too convenient. Let's consider the nature of Kronos himself. He isn't just a monster, he is the embodiment of time. Destructive, cyclical, and relentless. Can you truly imprison time itself, or does it merely bide its moment, waiting for the right conditions to surge forth once more? This is where our investigation begins. The official accounts, like those from the poet Hesiod, paint a clear picture of Olympian victory. But other, more obscure and fragmented texts hint at a different reality. Some versions of the myth suggest that Zeus, in a show of ultimate power and perhaps even a bit of mercy, eventually released Kronos from Tartarus. In these tellings, Kronos was made the ruler of the Elysian fields, the paradise for heroes in the afterlife. It sounds like a happy ending. A retirement plan for a cosmic tyrant, but think about the implications. Placing the embodiment of destructive ambition in charge of a paradise, it's like making a wolf the shepherd of a flock of sheep. It plants a seed of doubt. Was this an act of reconciliation or a strategic repositioning? Could this have been Zeus's way of keeping his enemy close, under a watchful eye, while giving him an illusion of freedom? The conspiracy deepens when we look at the very foundation of Olympian rule. The Olympians built their gleaming palace on Mount Olympus directly on the legacy of the Titans they defeated. Their power, their authority, it all stems from that initial act of rebellion and war. But a foundation built on violence is inherently unstable. Throughout the myths, we see constant challenges to Zeus's authority, rebellions from other gods, uprisings from giants, and the relentless scheming of figures like Prometheus. Every one of these conflicts echoes the original struggle against the Titans. It's as if the universe itself is trying to correct what happened, to revert to an older, more chaotic order. Could these events be random acts of defiance, or are they subtle manipulations from a shadowy force? A puppeteer still pulling strings from the depths of Tartarus, or even the serene fields of Elysium? This brings us to the core of the mystery, Kronos' relentless pursuit. His goal was never just power for power's sake. It was about control, about stopping the cycle of succession that he himself was a part of. His defeat didn't erase his ambition. It likely amplified it. Imagine an eternity spent in Tartarus, surrounded by the screams of the damned, with nothing but time, his own domain, to plot his revenge. His hatred for Zeus and the Olympians would not fade. It would fester, refine, and become an all-consuming obsession. Every moment of their triumph would be a fresh wound. Every song praising Zeus a reminder of his own downfall. This isn't a being that just gives up. So how could he return? The seals of Tartarus were said to be unbreakable, forged by the Cyclopes and guarded by the Hundred-Handers. But in mythology, nothing is truly impossible. Alliances shift. Loyalties waver. Think about the other denizens of the underworld. Hades, ruler of the dead, was never truly satisfied with his lot. What if Kronos, a master manipulator, could forge an alliance with his own disgruntled son? Or what about the other Titans imprisoned with him? Figures like Iapetus and Hyperion, still nursing their own millennial grudges. A united front of Titans, fueled by an eternity of rage, would be a force that even Olympus would fear. Their last stand might not have been their last at all, but merely the first of many. The war never really ended, it just went cold. It transformed from a physical battle into a war of influence, of shadows and whispers. Consider the cults and secret societies that have existed throughout history, many of which worshipped pre-Olympian deities. Could these have been fronts, mortal followers unknowingly or knowingly working to weaken the barriers of Tartarus, to find a crack in the divine order that would allow for Kronos' return? A prophecy foretold his downfall, but prophecies are tricky things. They can be misinterpreted, or they can be incomplete. Perhaps the prophecy didn't end with his defeat, but merely described one turn of a much larger cycle. The theme of betrayal is central to this entire saga. Kronos was betrayed by his own children, but he himself was a betrayer, rising against his father Uranus. This cycle of betrayal is woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. Who's to say it ended with Zeus? The Olympians were a notoriously dysfunctional family. Hera's jealousy, Poseidon's ambition, Ares' love for conflict, all of these are vulnerabilities. A mastermind like Kronos wouldn't need to break down the gates of Olympus with brute force. He could exploit these cracks from within. He could whisper promises of power to a discontented god, plant seeds of doubt, and watch as his enemies tear each other apart, doing his work for him. The greatest threat to Olympus was never an external force, but its own internal corruption, a weakness that Kronos would be uniquely qualified to exploit. So, what would happen if he succeeded? If Kronos were to be unleashed, it wouldn't be a simple changing of the guard. It would be an unraveling of reality. Kronos represents a return to a more primal, chaotic time. The order, law, and relative stability that the Olympians, for all their faults, brought to the cosmos would be shattered. It would be the Titan's last stand. But this time, he wouldn't be the paranoid king trying to hold on to his throne. He would be a being of pure vengeance, an engine of cosmic destruction. Time itself would become a weapon, accelerating the decay of civilizations, unmaking creation, and returning everything to the formless void from which it all began. The unfinished saga of Kronos is not just a story of a fallen king, it's a perpetual, looming apocalypse. The shadow of Kronos is a reminder that in mythology, as in life, victory is never absolute, and the past is never truly dead. It waits, it watches, and it seeks its moment to rise again. The war for Olympus isn't over, it's just waiting for the next chapter to be written. The question isn't if Kronos will return, but when and what form that return will take. The whispers from Tartarus are growing louder, and the age of the Olympians may be running out of time. Thanks so much for diving into this cosmic conspiracy with me. If you enjoyed this journey into the darker side of Greek mythology, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Kronos still a threat? See you in the next video.